Hi loves, it's Lacey and welcome to our space. Today's video is going to be some neutral Valentine's DIYs. So let's get started with DIY number one. First of all, I have from Dollar Tree is this vertical slatted heart, also some extra large craft sticks. I also have these spring roses in pink that they have, and some Waverly antique wax from Walmart. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to be covering up all of the openings on the back side of this heart. I'm going to take the extra large craft sticks and cut them off so that they meet up evenly with each other, and I'm going to glue them down onto the back to cover up the openings, just on the back side, because I'm going to be gluing the little roses to all of the slats. So all you have to do is measure them out here and then use some Gorilla hot glue for my Ryobi glue gun. And I'm just going to make sure that they're even in the middle of the slats. You don't need to cover up the entire back, just the slats here. That's why we're using the craft sticks. Once we get those nicely placed down, then we're going to flip our heart over, and I'm using a little bit of paper towel to protect my surface, and I'm going to totally cover my heart with the Waverly antique wax. And I'm going to be brushing this on with a little paintbrush, but you can use a foam brush if you like, but you're going to cover the whole thing. And I try to stay with the grain of the project because the grains run differently on these slats. Once you get it all on, we're going to wipe it all off with a baby wipe. At least that's what I use. You can use just a damp cloth, so then you can see the grain of the wood. The first one I had wiped off prior, so I'm just adding a little bit extra on and going to let it sit for a second and then wipe it off after it's sat for a second so it can be as dark as the other slats. But I love how the wood grain shows through this, and this is how I wanted this project to look. So then once we get done with that, we're going to be taking our spring roses, and I have about 4 bunches of these, but I only use 2 bunches and then maybe 4 more flowers. All of these will probably be a little different because the flowers are different sizes. So I cut off one of the flowers and I cut off a section of leaves. You'll see if you have these, they come in little sections of 3. And I also cut the bottom of the stem of the flower down so it sat a little flatter. And now I'm adding hot glue underneath the flower and on the back of the leaves. And I'm going to glue all of them into the slats. I don't know why I put that one there, but it worked out for me. I didn't have to move it. But start at the top and then work your way down. Now, I was cutting these off individually, but I found out that this is just a much easier thing to do it assembly line style. So I cut off all the groups of leaves, and then I cut off the flowers, and I cut the stems down on the flowers and then glued them to the leaves, and then put glue on the back of the leaves and then stuck them into the slats. So they go all the way down like this. It's simple. It just took longer to do them individually. So I got everything off the stems and I'm doing it assembly line like this. So put the flower onto the leaves, put some glue on the back of the leaf, and then put it in the slot. I have some extra little flowers or little leaves over the side where they broke off and it wasn't 3 on a stem. And so you can tuck those in on where you think you might need them. I don't show you guys doing that, but I want them to be nice and even down in them all to look about the same. So some glue in the leaves, glue the flower to the leaf, and then glue it inside the slat. That's as easy as this is. And I think it makes it look really, really nice when you do it this way, especially to keep them even. Then I dry fitted all these pieces that you see are sticking out. On these, they have these harder pieces, and that one won't come out, but it's not glued in there, that are flat and it looks like vines growing out. So I took those and I stuck those in and just dry fitted them where I thought I wanted them to be, and now I'm gluing them down. The little roses that are on the end of some of these don't come on the ends. I just had some of the roses that were damaged, and so I cut the bottom part off and made smaller ones and stuck them on the end afterwards. It's simple. You can do it really easily because you'll have roses left over if you use 3 stems like I did of this. I only used about 4 flowers off of the other pick, and so I had a lot of little roses left over. And this is how it turned out. I think it's really, really pretty, quite unique, and it's still neutral enough with the pink flowers to be a Valentine's DIY project. On to project number 2. So for this next project, we're going to be using one of the wood rounds that Dollar Tree carries. We also are going to be using the antique wax, and then I have all of these paper flowers. The little white box actually came from Dollar Tree, and then the rest of them here, I have 2 packs of this particular one, and then 2 different packs all came from Hobby Lobby, and they were on sale. I think they were only 30% off. So again, I am going to be tackling this wood round, and I'm actually going to put the wax on the front and on the back of this. I want the whole thing covered because it's a really pretty project, and if you wanted to set it on a stand instead of hang it on the wall, I think it'd be good to have the back covered. So once it was all on, I wiped it off with a baby wipe and let it dry, did the other side. Now I'm going to be taking these paper flowers. These were about $5.99 a pack, but like I said, they were all on sale. The white ones, they came from Dollar Tree, and that was the only pack that I ended up finding. So what I'm going to do is dry fit this entire project. I am going to be creating a heart. If you saw the thumbnail, it is going to be a open heart. Now, I did get inspiration from Pinterest from this. I've seen a lot of people use paper flowers for different things, for Valentine's Day and other, for spring projects and stuff, and they've done flowers out of the flowers. They've done hearts and stuff. So this I did have inspiration from, and I absolutely love this project. I like the colors that I picked for it for Valentine's Day. I just really didn't want to do a lot of red things, so we are kind of going with a semi-pink theme here. So all I'm doing is picking the flowers in the sizes that I think are going to go really well. Those really big ones over to the side I'm not going to end up using, just because the size of my wood round is quite small. You know, it's not that big from Dollar Tree. If you have a bigger one, you could use the bigger roses all together, or the bigger flowers, because they're not all roses. And I really love that some of these packs have like the more muted pinks, some have darker pinks. There is a buffalo check paper flowers in there, as you can see, and it looks really, really pretty. Also, you guys know how extra I am. I want this to be really whimsical, and I saw someone do one that was whimsical, and I'm sorry, I don't know who their name is, but where your heart does not connect at the bottom, and so that's what I decided to do with this one, is to make one where the heart doesn't connect at the bottom as well. I played with this for quite a while, and even on my final project here, when I get done with it, you'll see at the end it changed just a little bit. But you can make your own paper flowers. If you own a Cricut, you can cut out paper flowers with a Cricut. I do own a Cricut, and I already had these, so I went ahead and used these so I could show you guys my idea. But I would love to do something like this on a bigger scale, and my Cricut would be perfect to cut out different paper flowers. They already have a lot of different patterns for you there. So as you can see, this is how this one turned out. I still change it up just a tiny bit, but when I dry fit things like this, I take a picture. As you can see, I have my phone with my camera on my phone, so then I know where each piece goes back together. I do this with a lot of projects. Sometimes you lay it out and then you have to move it to glue it all down, or to move the project and you're not done with it. This is an easy way to make sure you get it all back where you absolutely want it. Have a picture so you have a reference to go back to. So that's what I'm doing. I have my phone a little bit off screen, and I am just taking hints from it. You don't have to stay to it true, because I didn't stay absolutely true to the picture, but it gives me an idea of what I already liked and how I wanted these pieces to go. But this project is super simple, as you can tell. All you're doing is gluing down these paper flowers to this wood round, and really that's all it is. I mean, you could do something extra. You could add words inside the heart. You could use less flowers and just do a one edge of flowers around, you know, like not stack them up like I'm doing. But I love it, and I think it turned out really, really pretty in the end. So here's what it looks like once I'm done gluing everything down. And I decided that I'm going to go ahead and put a hanger on it. I had this little piece of pink ribbon left from another project, and so I didn't even cut it or anything. It was just what was left. I never throw anything away. You guys know I say that. Don't throw anything away because you never know when you can use it later. So I'm just going to put it in the holes and go ahead and tie it off on the back. Now, once I got it on there and I looked at it, and a couple family members looked at it with me, we all decided that it would be really cute if I would have maybe braided twine around the ribbon or added more than one ribbon, but that was the only ribbon that I had that kind of matched that. And once I get it on there, I didn't want to like undo it and then braid the twine and stuff on, but that would be a really cute idea for it to braid it around, because the pink is a little bit pink for the muted colors in the flowers, but I like it and I'm keeping it for myself, so it's fine with me. So this is what it looks like hanging on my door, and I just think it's so adorable. And on to DIY number 3. So for the next one, we're going to use a solid wood heart. I also have this little wreath that came from Target's Dollar Spot. I also have this ribbon that came from Michael's, and then I do have 2 other paints and the Waverly chalk paint, and also those decals, but those decals were a little bit too big. They came from Hobby Lobby. I am going to be using one, I'll show you in a second, from Dollar Tree instead. So it's the same process. All 3 of these DIYs are getting the Waverly antique wax because I just loved it. I like this neutral tone, and I absolutely love the wood grain in this particular heart. It came out really, really nice. Sometimes the Dollar Tree ones are really, really nice, and I love the pattern of this wood. So I'm only doing the one side of this wood because I am going to hang it. And then I'm going to take this reform, and you guys, if you've been around my channel before, you've seen me do this before. This wreath form is a circle, but I'm bending it because it has a very strong wire in it into the shape of a heart. And then it has all of this boxwood around it, and I'm just going to spin some of it around the wreath form and make it go around because some of it has wires in it. And then the pieces that don't have wires in, I'm going to show you here in a second, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them off that stick out and then re-glue them into the reform into the bare spots where I cut them off from. So I know it doesn't look perfectly like a heart, but it is in a heart shape. And when I get all these little extra pieces off that won't lay down, you can see more the heart shape of it. And I'm going to have this be on the front of my heart. So I am going to glue in all of the little pieces that I took off. I'm going to stick them in different sections, but before that I pulled out these smaller heart decal, like they're little wood pieces and they're the blonde wood, and I was going to paint it the white, but the more I looked at it with this, I liked it in its natural state. So I'm just going to take one of the twine hangers that came with the pack and tie it onto the top of my heart reform now. And then after I get it tied on there, I'll cut off that little excess twine. I double knotted it and put a little drop of hot glue so it will stay where it is going. I'm using my smaller Ryobi hot glue gun just because it dispenses a little less glue, but I'm still using Gorilla Glue sticks. I didn't want too much glue coming out trying to place in all of these extra little pieces that I cut out to cover up the brown wire that's on this reform that, you know, is going to show when you cut out pieces of it. So I'm just sticking them in where it's necessary or where I just feel like it needs to be a little fuller. And I'm going to do that all the way around the green wreath. And then once we get all of that done, I'm going to make a bow to go on it. So anywhere you see that there's just like an empty spot and you want it to look more full, you would stick all of these extra little green pieces in. So now before I actually make my bow, I'm going to take some of the wired twine from Dollar Tree that they have. You can use any kind of wire on the back, but since this had twine on it and it was nice and dark, I decided to use that. I'm going to wrap it around just at the green reform part and twist it up really well because I want this to be glued down to my heart. However, if I glue the wreath form down by itself, it's going to smush the back of it, and then the bottom of the heart on the wreath form is going to kind of stand out from the heart. If you know what I mean, it's not going to lay evenly. So I'm going to twist this around into a circle on the back and then use a whole bunch of hot glue, Gorilla Hot Glue, and then stick that to my wreath form. And it actually holds it on there really well, and it stops me from having to squish the top of the green wreath. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just holding it until it completely dries because I use quite a bit of it. And when you pick it up, it's going to stay on your wreath, and you don't have to worry that it's all squished. You can still see that it's nice and fluffy all the way around. And then any place that I think that it's not fluffy, I just fluffed it up. Now we're going to make a bow. So I'm going to show you here how I started to make the bow. I made it way too big, so I'm going to have 2 bows, but that's okay. I used it for another project later on. I did this a 2 loop on each side bow, and I'm going to be making tails on it. The bow that I actually put on this, which you'll see in just a second, doesn't have any tails on it, and I decided to do a 3 loop bow. You guys know already, if you've been around. If you haven't, I'm extra. I always want my projects to be just a little bit more than what they need to be. So I'm using a small zip tie. Dollar Tree sells these to secure my bow in the middle, and it's just like a regular bow, like almost like you tied your shoes. And then after I get it together, I realize it's way too big and I don't want to take it apart. I know I can use it later, so I do a 3 loop bow with no tails. And I do the same thing. I use a Dollar Tree zip tie and I secure it together. And then I'm going to cut off the excess of the zip tie and fluff my bow. I want my bow to, you know, be rather large on this, on the front, but I didn't want it to cover up the heart shape at all. And the other one was too long. The tails came down and covered up the little heart ornament decal thing that's in the middle too much. So I decided to do this instead. So I'm just going to take and glue it down into the top of my wreath form. But before I did that, I took and I cut off some of the trim off of an excess piece of that ribbon, and I'm going to cover up the middle where the zip tie is. I wasn't going to do that at first because I had a little wooden heart and I was going to put that there, but I like this instead. The little wooden heart was just a little bit too big, and I didn't think I needed another heart for it. So I know it's hard to see, but I just took off the trim, the buffalo check trim, and then put it over in the middle. And this is what this looks like. And I think it's really elegant and simple and easy to do. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed these Valentine kind of quick and easy neutral DIYs. I know this one is really pink, but you can do it in a lighter color and it would still be a neutral DIY. I really just love the delicacy of all of these flowers. Even though they are plastic, it still looks high-end when you are done with it. And all of the little vine pieces that I put coming off and the extra leaves that I stuck in really make it look like it's kind of growing out of the wood, and that's why I did it this way. And then this one here I absolutely love. This is my favorite. I will be keeping this for myself, and I think anyone can do this, and they sell paper flowers at all of the craft stores. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not a member here at Lacee Space, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, become a subscriber, hang out with us for a while. We have a lot of fun here and we make a lot of cool things here. Also, if you like, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Lacee Space, the same way that it is spelled here, and I will be posting all of these DIYs over there just in case you want to check it out. But that's it, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye, loves.